Hello, my name's Hazel and I'm going to tell you all about how to make a bulb lasagna. Not the edible kind, this is completely not edible, and it's not topped with cheese sauce. It's topped instead with bright colourful bedding that will take you all the way through to spring. So we start off with a pot. Choose a nice sized pot. Make sure that there is a hole in the bottom for drainage. Then use a small crock, something like this. All that's going to do is to stop the soil falling out through the bottom of the hole, but still allow water to drain through. So just cover the hole with your crock. And then you want to put in enough compost to about halfway or just below halfway. And you can use either multi-purpose compost or a bulb fibre. Either would be fine. So when you're making a bulb lasagna, you generally put things like tulips in the first layer. Then you can go with things like hyacinths and daffodils in the middle layer. And you can use really small bulbs like crocuses or iris in the top layer. Now, I'm not actually going to have a top layer of bulbs. Instead, I'm going to have some colourful bedding. But first, I'm going to need to put in my tulips. And I've chosen a yellow tulip called Friendship. And I've got about 7 bulbs here. When you put them in, make sure the pointy end goes up. And you want to space them out so that they're not touching. Now, in a pot this size, I could probably get a little bit more than 7 in there. But as I've got the bedding on the top as well, I'm just going to keep it to 7. Space them out nice and evenly, like so. And then when you've done that, you want to cover them up again with some more compost, just to the point where you're covering up the tips, like so. Then you move on to your next layer, so something like daffodils or hyacinths. Now, I've chosen daffodil called Cheerfulness White to go with my spring colour of the yellow tulips, so I think they go really nicely together. And again, you space out the daffodils. It doesn't matter if they're very close to or above the tulips, so long as they're spaced out and not touching. The tulips will find their way up through between them. And there's your next layer. And again, cover that with some compost. So the compost is like the meat of your lasagna, and the bulbs are more like the pasta layer. Now we've come for the cheese sauce, which is always my favourite part. And we have some lovely colourful bedding. I've chosen a really nice Calluna vulgaris to go in the centre of the pot. And again, don't worry about the bulbs finding their way up through. They will find their way up through the roots of the plants that you're putting in. So just spread out the roots a little bit, just give it a little bit of a rough up. Position that in the middle. Just going to pack that around with a little bit more compost. There's my thriller. The violas are going to be my filler, and I've chosen this lovely one, this rocky white with purple wing. So the lovely purple wings will stand out against the snow, perhaps, and the lovely white with the yellow centres will hopefully match up with my tulip bulbs and daffodil bulbs when they come through in the spring. But this will give me colour all winter. And I'm going to, there's 6 in a pack there. Just going to position those on the top in pairs. In fact, I might not need all 6 in here. Let's see. And you can see they're filling up the pot beautifully. And violas are such a good choice for winter bedding because they will flower even through almost the harshest weather. They might slow down a bit if it was like -10, -5 to -10, but otherwise they'll still carry on flowering through the winter. So you'll have colour all the way. And the difference that I find between pansies and violas is that pansies being bigger, I find that with the wind, they get a little bit more battered than violas do. So I do prefer to use violas, but you can choose whatever you like. And then we have some spillers. So ivy is a fantastic spiller to use in winter to give you a little bit of softness to the edge of your pot. And to speak about pots as well, actually, you should always make sure that you choose a frost-proof pot, because if you don't choose a frost-proof pot, you might find that it cracks if the weather gets really harsh and you get the water freezes. So make sure it's a frost-proof pot. So you can see that's filled out beautifully. We've got lovely colour. The purple matches the viola. The yellow is going to match my spring colour with my tulips. Got some lovely softness to the edge. All I need to do now is just fill in the gaps around the edge, give it a little bit of water, and there's my bulb lasagna. Now, squirrels love digging up bulbs from pots. So by putting in the bedding on the top, you're kind of helping to stop that happening. But just to be sure that squirrels won't get to your bulbs underneath, you could put some kind of protected wire mesh barrier over the top just for a couple of weeks, just until your plants have rooted. And once your plants have rooted, you should be able to take it off and the squirrels shouldn't be able to get through too badly. So it'd be much better. So a lovely pot for a front doorstep, somewhere that's going to make you feel happy and cheerful every time you come in and out of your house in the winter, and have some lovely colour.